trapped in a maze, small business owner. Stress had me in a daze, every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight. Our word is strong, the vision so clear. Building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling sad, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight. Our word is strong, the vision so clear. Building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group.
Welcome to Rising Tide Talks. I'm Kylie Montgomery, and I encourage transformation with positive energy.
And I'm Becky Kutzer, and I believe it takes a village to run a business.
And I'm Aaron Montgomery, and with our success group, and excited to continue the mission of our success group and encourage people to fall deeper in love with their business, facilitate that, so to speak. And I get to be here with two amazing people. So excited to talk to everybody. And just so we can get this out of the way, since we had problems with Facebook last time, your mic is on, Chandler. So we are,
and so is mine.
And so is Becky. So
that's why we were late.
Yeah, lots of things working well for us. We got Chuck checking in, and we've got Craig tuning in from Boston. So appreciate everybody being here and all the comments working, and yay. But Kylie, where shall we start tonight?
All right, let's start with some gratitude today. We always like to start with gratitude because when we start to appreciate the good things that we have in our life, we start attracting more good things and we raise our vibration, and there's always something to be grateful for. And so we want to bring that good energy here. So if you are listening, please share what you're grateful for with us. Aaron, do you want to start today with what you're grateful for?
I have to start. Okay.
You have to start. I switched it up.
Okay. Yep. I am grateful. I was going through, I'm giving a presentation tomorrow at the Authentic Marketing Summit. And in fact, I'll put it in the link in the chat here because there's still time to sign up. It's been going for the last 2 days. And my session's called Clarity is the New Hustle. And I was just going through it again today, just making sure I had all the details right and just feeling comfortable with it. And really kind of made me reflect on my path, on my journey, I guess, to get our success group to where it's at today and all the different things that happened. And really kind of the starting point for me was a time back in 2018 where Kylene took me to the emergency room and feeling not great and finding out that I had high blood pressure. So I'm just grateful for that journey and being able to share that with folks nowadays.
That's awesome. How about you, Becky?
This week it was Masters of Success Week, and so it's always I'm just grateful for that group. We made a change and we had it in the evening, which is way different than the 7 a.m. I felt like my Monday didn't start off quite right since we weren't up and going and have our meeting at 7. But it was also a fantastic way to end my Monday evening. So I'm grateful for that group.
That's awesome.
How about you,
Yes.
Kylene?
Well, I am grateful that we actually have books in hand with the gratitude shift. So I don't have it at my desk, but Aaron has a copy, but he's doing something. There it is. It's
It's
real.
ready.
It is so pretty.
There's words
So
in it and
proud of it.
everything.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm just really grateful for it. I've already had some good conversations with my mom. She's in the process of reading it right now, and it's just really fun just to hear her talk about her shift she's already making. You know, starting her morning off with gratitude and ending her day with gratitude. You know, she moved from sunny Arizona to cold northern Minnesota in winter, and she is using gratitude to get through some of those choices that she's made, and just really reframing it. And so it's fun. It's just a good conversation starter, especially to connect more with the people that are close to you.
And I'm
So
sure she's been feeling it this week.
I know she said she
Temps
doesn't
have
want to
not been
leave.
good.
Isn't it like negative 30 or something?
Well, our real temps were like minus 14, minus 18, but the feel like temps were hitting the minus 23 and minus 30 something.
Mm.
So it was lovely.
Mm. Yes, yes.
Sure.
So I'm grateful
Yeah.
for heat.
Grateful for
Yes.
heat, absolutely.
Yes.
Chandler
No
shared
kidding.
that she was grateful for the snow day that she took today. So,
Good for you.
yeah, that's what always cracks me up about St. Louis, by the way, especially now that they have these AMI days, they call them at school. Like if there's a threat of one snowflake, the whole place just shuts down. It's like it
Mhm.
wasn't. We did not get much snow, so I don't think it was too bad today. But anyhow, I haven't left the house, so it doesn't matter.
Isn't it supposed to be icy out there?
I don't know, something like that. But I see we've got Angela checking in here too. Thanks for being here, Angela. Good to see you.
Hi.
And I did put those links in there, so if you guys haven't signed up yet, totally free. So just go register over there, osg.link/clarityam. And then if you do want to pick up the book, we do have it on sale. Chandler says, I just re-registered. Awesome. Good to get that information. If you want to pick up a copy of the book, it is on sale for a little bit longer there, rssyoga.link/gratitude shift. So, all right. Cool. Lots of good stuff happening, and been talking about the Summit of Success, and so we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But
Mhm.
Becky, we had some topics, right? We got 4 topics last week, and I wrote them down somewhere, so we'll find that.
I'm glad you wrote them down somewhere.
I wrote them down. They're actually right here. So here we go. So 4 topics, and a couple of them were from Chandler, and then a couple from Craig. If there are any topics from any of you guys that are tuned in that you don't hear on this list, please bring them to us. We're happy to talk about whatever you guys want to chat about. But working with investors, kind of bosses, if you day job or you have other people involved in your business, stuff like that, how to work with them. And then another one was utilizing Trello, and having Becky here is always a good reason to have that conversation. She's a Trello master, and
You know, that's pretty
you use it a lot more.
Right
You use it a lot more than
I do.
anybody else I
Yes,
know.
I do.
So, yes. And then Craig had asked about utilizing the Meta's Business Suite, Facebook Business, for scheduling and automation and just social media posting. And then the topic I believe we're going to talk about today is this idea of working with interns. Again, this came from Chandler. She's got a couple interns, and so a discussion about how to better work with them. I can see these same ideas also if you've got employees. Maybe it's a part-time employee or something like that. Becky, I know you work with some part-time people there and have people that come in and help you.
Yep.
So I think these ideas can probably fit in all of that. So does that sound like a good plan? We'll talk about interns and employees today.
Sounds like a great plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody have any ideas of where you'd like to start? Becky, anything that pops into your head right away here as we kick off this discussion?
Well, since I was thinking this was what we were talking about, I did a chat GPT conversation a little bit ago, and so I just asked for it. Just said, I have interns and employees. What are 5 top items they should know to ensure a smooth transition to getting them on the same page as management? That was kind of my little conversation that I started with. And ChatGPT, of course, kicked out 5 different things for us. So the first thing that came up on that was the clear expectations and roles. Having something clearly laid out for exactly what you want that. Why did you hire that intern? What's their role going to be inside of your organization?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember when we were getting ready to have people come help us make some products, and I did SOPs for the position, so there was like that clear set of procedures. So it wasn't like you heard a little bit of instructions here and there. It was all laid out for them to refer to, which really identified, okay, this is the expectation of what needs to happen. I found that really helpful with pictures too. I not everyone needs picture directions, but it is really helpful for people to quickly reference.
yep.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, I think, and I'd love to hear from those of you that are tuned in live right now. Who's got people? Maybe you don't have, like I said, a full-time employee, but maybe you've got somebody that comes in and helps part-time. In Chandler's case, right, she's got some interns that she's working with. I think that's a fantastic idea. If you're wondering how you get some help, reach out to your local colleges or there's different high school programs. And Chandler can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe her interns came through a local program here they call CAPS. But I was looking at one of the young people. It's a gentleman. His name just escaped me. Lucas, actually, just came back. He was posted on his LinkedIn about DECA. Right. So DECA is another one of those programs like Skills USA. So you could reach out to people like that. Maybe through Skills USA and see if they've got some star students that might be interested in interning, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm curious to know who's got people like that or who's looking for people like that first and foremost. And then I guess, yeah, Angela says they need a position description so they know what's expected of them. And I guess the first thing that comes to my mind too, though, when we talk about this is there's this idea of expectations, right? That, that you've got a SOP and stuff like that. But there's a difference between setting expectations and micromanaging. Like you do it this way, right? So I think the real important part is we give people a standard operating procedure so they can kind of see the path.
Yep.
But I don't think it's the right thing to do to then, dock them for, to kind of be upset if they're not following it to the T, right? I think the most important part is to say, what's the end result that you are expecting of them, as in, getting the things done right, and how many, right? Like, what's the expectation? Okay, if you're in here for a few hours and we've got X number of things, if it were me, right, how many would I do? And then understand that, yes, you've probably built that flow. And so they might need a little extra time to get it, especially as they get going. But say, at some point, I'd like you to get to where you're doing X number per hour. How you do that, here's a document that'll help you figure that out, but give them some autonomy to figure it out for themselves. So that couple things happen there. A, you're so close to it that you might miss something that could be done differently. And then B, you work differently than they do. You're unique to them. And so when you're trying to be very prescriptive of do it this way, that might actually mess them up. Maybe they need to do it a little bit differently. So I can give a quick example and then I'll let Becky bring some thoughts in here. But for example, Kylene and I are very different when it comes to certain things. Kylene is very consistent and she has to finish the thing. Like it has to be, if there's 100 to do, she's going to keep doing it until she completes 100. And chunk. But for me, I man, the squirrels and the things going on. So for me, I'm more efficient if I were to do 10, move to the next step, do 10, move to the next step, do 10, and then come back and start over again. I need that variety, right? So if someone were to say, okay, you got to finish all 100 of these things, I don't think I would do it very well. I'd probably screw up because I'd lose attention to it. I would like get bored. Whereas Kylene's the other way around. If she doesn't have that all done, she's out of her system and in flow. Right.
Yep.
Anyhow, Kylene, what are your thoughts on all that?
Well, I was just thinking of a few helpers that we had, and just, we had a very particular, I had a very particular set of how I was making ornaments. This is what we were doing, and I showed it to her, and her sister did it exactly like I did, followed it perfectly, was great. And then then her sister came in, and she did it similar, but flipped some of the steps around and was even more productive doing it. And I just kind of let it go. I mean, she was knocking them out and doing it well. She just obviously saw a different path to get there. And at first I was like, what's the outcome going to be? And, she did it right. It just was different than how my brain saw it. So like Erin said, I think it was giving them the ability to make mistakes, if you will, so they can take that ownership and having that understanding of what could happen instead of just being on top of them the whole time, I think is not productive at all. I mean, I know I don't operate when someone's over my shoulder all the time. I like to have that ownership of it. I don't know about you, Becky.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, for my helpers, I, usually show them, give them a couple times of how this is how we do it. And, for pressing shirts, I like to use the ruler. That's how I've never really truly gotten to where I can totally center without not using a ruler. However, when we upgraded the press, it came with lasers. So this last set of shirts that we had, the large order, we set the lasers to set for the specific design. Where it landed top, where it landed on a side. We found a point somewhere within the design and got them set. And that made a world of difference for both of us, because then no matter which one of us was doing it, and always, I mean, as long as your shirt's on within, not sitting at a 45-degree angle, it's going to be, in my world, close enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, go pull a shirt off the rack in a store and it's not right very often. So, having those lasers took out one more step, and it just actually sped up our process that much faster. And that works so well with large quantity type orders. Does not always work with some of our onesie twosie stuff, but there again, I let her go. I let her do. I'm like, I would do all the fronts, because if I don't, and I'm trying to do front and then I'm trying to do a back, I will guarantee you I will end up with a front on the back or a back on the front, because I forgot what I was doing. But I agree that needs to have some leeway for them to decide what works best for them. Maybe it works best and they can get in a flow where they're doing a front and a back, however it works. The only thing I would say is sometimes, us as industry people have figured out a certain way of how things should work or how it does work or something like that. And, maybe they switch stuff around, and that's when sometimes that's when something goes wrong, so then it's back to, okay, what are we doing? Kind of go back to the basics and kind of restart over and say, okay, what exactly did you do that ended up, why did it not do it correctly? Yeah. So,
and I think that's where the SOPs come in, because then you kind of go, okay, you had autonomy to do this, but you're making mistakes. And so here's why we do it this way. And so really what happened there was that the person didn't understand the expectation, and therefore they didn't understand why that step was necessary. So they skipped it. Right. And so I think that's really important what you shared there, Becky, because I think what I've seen in myself and in others is that we'll make two mistakes when it comes to working with a new person or an intern or something like that. First one is, right, we've done all the work, we have the SOPs, and maybe we made a nice video, and I've got this nice little binder, and I go, here's your binder, watch the video, go. Right. And it doesn't give them any space to ask the questions, to see it in process, go, well, why do you do it that way? Right. And stuff like that. But then the other side of it is they then instead go, okay, here's or maybe they don't have all that. And they just go, okay, just watch what I do. Here's it. And then they're going to stand over the top of them the whole time and go, oh, you got to do it that way. And again, not giving them any space to go, okay, why?
Yeah.
Here's the deal. People at their heart, in their nature, right? Especially if you've found somebody that is worth training, right? That they want to do a good job, right? They might not have that same passion to be the business owner. And honestly, that's not what you're looking for. You want them to take ownership of their role, of their responsibility. And if we give them the space to ask questions to gain that mastery, then they're going to thrive. But again, we typically make one of those two mistakes where we kind of, here you go, you're left alone, figure it out. Throw them, I hear people go, oh, we just got to throw them in the fire and they'll figure it out. Right? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But the flip side of it is like just micromanaging them. And it's like, well, what's the point then? Why don't you just do it yourself at that point? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're creating more headaches for yourself. I think the important thing too is, we all make mistakes, and someone doing something for the first time, or even if they've been doing it for a while, they're probably going to make a mistake, and it's just coming back to that positive reinforcement with that. So they're not afraid to keep going. I know for me, I've had experiences where I didn't do something right. I asked for help and I walked away feeling like a complete idiot. That doesn't motivate anyone to keep doing more. So I think just having that positive side to it is really important.
No mistakes.
Yeah.
Is it awkward that I'm being a listener and a host? At the same
I just
time?
didn't see the comment at first, like did you set the lasers to stunning? I missed that one completely. So
That's awesome.
The dad jokes, they just show up and I have to share them. It's required. But speaking of comments, let's go back and get a couple of these other ones in here. I think it's a great conversation that we're starting here. And appreciate that. Let's see here. Where was the one that I wanted to? Okay. Chandler, when we were talking about, getting upset with them. Yeah, you cannot be upset. We're supposed to be their mentors, and that's where I am. I don't want to do them a disservice to them. Absolutely. And so, treat them as if they were an employee because that's really honestly the same thing we're supposed to be for our employees, is a mentor, is somebody that, right? I think people go, oh, I'm going to teach them all these skills and then they're going to become my competitor. Really? Right. Well, what makes you unique makes you unique. And honestly, very few people, I was talking about this on Small Business Saturdays not too long ago, right? There are 12 kids on Lewis's volleyball team. And of those 12 kids, right, they've each got a set of parents. And Kylene and I are the only one of those 22 people, or 24 total, 22 people do not have a business. Right? And they're all very successful. They're all very amazing people, but they have no desire to be a business owner. Right. So I wouldn't go down that route myself personally. Okay. Anything to add to that, you guys? Nope.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Angela then says, right, tell them these are the things you may be doing at some point. Don't imply they will be doing it all. It could be overwhelming for that person. I think that's a really good point too. Becky, what's your take on that?
Absolutely. I mean, I think you start out in chunks. I mean, it may be one of those things where they see, say in my area here, like they see the whole process, but they may not be doing all of it. Like, I have most of them, they do most of the pressing. I may go back and be doing the folding. Because if they look at that whole pile and think they have to fold everything too, that might be too much.
Yeah.
So definitely, they need to know what the expectations will be, but then there also needs to be timelines for where those expectations should land.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think one thing to be aware of there, right, is yeah, it is good to, kind of cover, not give them too much so they're not overwhelmed, but yeah, kind of give them, hey, here's what may be coming down the road, right? But I think what's also important here, and I've made this mistake, is when you are talking to people about, okay, here's what's coming down the road, here's the opportunities that are in front of you. You might be able to become the manager or something like that, right? Whatever that is for you and your business. But I think you have to also be very clear with them about what that timeline is going to look like, because I've had that where people feel like they should have gotten there quicker, and then they leave, or they're not happy anymore because they feel like they've already gotten there. But to me, they hadn't gotten there yet. So it's like, well, if you show up every day on time, that's a good start. If you're going to be a manager. So I'm just
Mm-hmm.
remembering this particular person. But anyway, so I think that's a great comment from Angela there.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Chandler mentioned, I like that. Why was it necessary?
Yeah.
Definitely.
And that for me helped when I was in high school, and then I went to work I did some on-job training, and then that I worked for a lawyer, and they called me back, and I worked that summer between high school and college and all that kind of stuff. And the one thing that was, and it stuck out to me ever since then, and I try to do the same thing, because I would have a question, and the gal that I was working with, she would say, okay, just give me 1 second. She would stop what she was doing. She would come over and see what I was doing, and not just tell me what to do, but she took the time to explain to me why I was doing that.
Yeah.
Well, you'll guarantee the next time I went to do that same thing, I understood what I was supposed to do. And not just because she showed me what to do, she explained why I was doing it. So things made more sense to me. And I've always tried to make sure that when I have a position or do something like that, that I explain to somebody why they need to do it, why we're doing it, so that it makes more sense to them. And so just because I'm doing it this way doesn't mean it's how they have to do it, but they understand why we're doing it,
Yeah.
so that it can get done. So, I mean, for Chandler with the interns, if they understand why you're doing it, what you're asking them to do, however they do it, it's probably going to work out really well for you.
Yeah.
But I know after I worked at that job and I went to college was a lot easier. I understood a whole bunch of things already. And so, that just made a big difference for me.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Kylie.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, when you know the why behind anything, it's even our business, we're just more connected to it, right? We understand the reason to do it a certain way, or why that's being shared. We're just more invested, I guess is the word I'm trying to say.
Okay. Awesome. And obviously this was me trying to be funny again, but mistakes, opportunities, right? Okay. All right. And this one I want to talk about for sure, because you guys will have to yank the soapbox out from under me if I get to going too much here. But so most of you guys talk about SOPs, but I never had a job where we had those and had to use them in order to do our job. It was more like we were trained, we learned what to do, and that went away too quick. And then the training wheels were taken off, and we were on our own from there. So, okay, here's why that one kind of excites me a little bit is if you were at a place where they didn't have SOPs, understood, not many people do. But to me, I believe that it is a very important part of a business. It's honestly part of the fundamentals. It's actually part of fundamental number 8, systematic processes. And it does a multitude of things for us. First and foremost is it does give us that guardrail to give to somebody. So that way, when things don't go well, you can go back to that and go, okay, where did we miss? Right? It's a lot easier to identify where corrections need to be made. Secondly, it's not to have for somebody to just always flip through, like they don't think about their job, right? We talked about that, where it's not about, they should have some ability to adjust those SOPs as things progress, and they, kind of have the training wheels taken off, as Angela mentioned there. But here's the real reason why I would suggest small business owners look at this. I'm not saying you have to have it right away, but this is an area that we focus on in the fundamentals because of the fact that it also helps you understand where your process is broken or where it could become more efficient or what's missing, because it requires you to then sit down and look at every step by step. Because if you're going to document it, right, I always talk about the fact that the best, what allowed me to become a good volleyball player had nothing to do with practicing or any coaches that I ever had. It was actually when I became a coach and I had to start telling people the steps is when I learned the most about how I can improve my own game. Right. So I kind of look at an SOP like that as an opportunity to improve your own business by creating those SOPs. So I think that's my soapbox on that.
That wasn't too bad.
Okay, wasn't too bad. Any other takes or things that I missed in that? Okay, wow, I did a good job. I'm on fire today, you guys.
I like it.
And Angela says the military was the only job where I had SOPs. Absolutely. So, thank you for sharing that, Angela.
For sure.
Yep. All right, we got lots of great comments, so this is becoming a good discussion here. For example, on the fire ground, citizens see chaos. All of us running around and standing around. Rookies are scared. They're going to mess up. Officers get their orders and know what steps to do, right? They have, that SOP. I love it. Did I do those out of order?
Yep.
Oh, it split itself. Okay, in the dance and Chief. Okay. In the dance, and Chiefs pick the music to dance to. I like that, Darren. Thanks for sharing that.
Yep.
Okay. Same goes for businesses, SOGs, SOPs.
And I think, like back into Angela's comment there, I mean, even if that job didn't have a written SOP, when they trained them, it was kind of the SOP. I mean, there's a lot of places that don't have truly written. I do not have written down SOPs at the moment. So that, I called in and asked a question about something with one of my web stores, and he's like, yep, that'll work as long as you let your production team know that this is the change you're making. And I did not correct him or whatever, but I got one and I went, yep, no problem there. I'm the production team too. So, but I understand what he was getting at. If I want to make a change on one end, it's not going to go back and revert and change the orders that are already in there. It'll only do it going forward. So if I want that change to happen to the orders that are already in there, I either have to go back and manually add them, or I let the next person in line know, this is the change. So,
and that makes sense. And that's a really good point. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to fail if you don't have SOPs. So exactly to Becky's point, right? She's running a very successful business without having written SOPs. I just feel like writing it down gives us an opportunity to make changes, right? So if Becky got to a place where she's got a really crazy bottleneck that's really holding her back from growing or increasing her production or whatever the case may be, the first thing I would suggest is, okay, well, let's go write down what your SOPs are. And in that process, you're going to see the holes. So you're going to see the changes that could be made. You're going to see ways that you might be able to do it faster. And so I think that's also where a lot of the value comes from writing it down. Are you going to fail because you don't have it written down? No. Like Becky said, you've got that process. I think it's a lot easier to pass it along to somebody, right? When Becky, when you're in a place where you are hiring people and having more of that kind of stuff, having that available to you is going to make a world of difference, right? So it's just being proactive, I guess, in a way. So
absolutely.
You see Sandy's comment.
Oh, Chuck says, hi, Darren. Do you have a dance party often? Okay. Yes. And then Sandy's comment. I hate it when my production team doesn't listen to me. And
me too, Sandy. Me too.
Sandy and Becky are in the same boat. Love it. All right. Let's see what else here. This is awesome, you guys. I think we can just read comments the rest of the way and have a great show. Angela says, exactly, Becky. It may not have been in writing, but there was a way for it to be done, or the way we do it here. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Anytime I was trained and there was no SOPs, I wrote down my own notes as I did, which became my SOP because that's what I went back to. I typed it out so that, if there was a step-by-step process for what I needed to know, I had it written down for myself.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And to my point earlier, Sandy said it way better here. If you have it written down, when time comes to bring in help, it makes it better, so they have something to refer to.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. It just, yeah.
Go
It
ahead.
just helps us, like, when we're explaining and training people, because we may jump to that next step without realizing we did a few things in between there and not ever verbalize that. And sometimes you need to verbalize it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they need to read it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. And then Angela's comment, I know I already put this up, but it did bring up one other thing in my brain, so I'm going to just say it because I get to. I have a microphone in front of me. You guys let me have that. But here's the other part about why I love SOPs is there. I've gone into a lot of businesses. In fact, when I went to work for Coastal Business, I knew that a big part of the things that I was going to have to change is, well, this is the way we've always done it. Okay, true, understood. Right, and sometimes though, in that training process, you get that what do they call that? The telephone, the grapevine thing, where it just gets changed slightly along the way, and you lose some meaning, right? And
Mm-hmm.
What's the story about the you always had to cut the ends off of the fruitcake.
The ham.
Thank you. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And you went back to a couple of generations back, and the only reason that grandma or great grandma started doing that was because her pan couldn't fit the whole ham. But yet,
Mm-hmm.
how many generations have now been cutting the ends off the ham because that's the way we've always done it, right? So, an SOP also gives us a place to kind of go, okay, great, but why?
Yep.
So, all right, sorry. You guys are firing me up about this. I love it.
No, but there again, if grandma had asked great grandma why she cut the ends off, the answer would have been, well, it doesn't fit in my pan. But nobody bothered to ask that, and it never got translated down.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, that's exactly where we lose things in translation, and like you said, the written part of it would have been, if you don't have a pan big enough, you're going to have to cut the ends off.
Yes.
So,
yeah, that's good. That's exactly right. But I think it is important, right? Even if you do have SOPs, then to part of the process, part of the thing that we talk about in fundamentals of business success and in masters of success, and kind of through this process or cycle of creating business that we love, is we have to go back and ask why, right? We have to go, okay, great, but why? And we've got to get to that depth, and I think that's important. So, all right. So Darren says we have SOPs and SOGs, standard operating procedures, and standard operating guidelines, right? Okay. I like SOGs a little bit better then, now that I think about it personally, for me. Right? All right. And then Angela always takes notes, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just having a good time reading all these. So Darren says, Chuck, last week we had a couple. One with a broken head, another was a car fire inside a warehouse, plus all the medical. All right. And then Angela reminding that she lit a fire. Okay. Yes, she did. So, all right. What else do we need to cover here? I know you had notes, Becky, and I.
Oh no, this was way better than any notes I had. I just to go back to, obviously ChatGPT is out there. Whether it's perfect or not, it's not. But after that initial set of 5 things that it gave me, it also said, would you like help structuring an onboarding checklist and a training plan? And I said, sure. So it spit that out too. I mean, so again, more of a guideline for yourself to start setting up the SOPs and the SOGs. I agree with Aaron. I kind of like the SOGs. It's a guideline. Here's what we want to do. Here's the expectation we expect of you. Here's how I do it. You can do it that way, or if you find a better way, let me know, because I would love a better way. If they're, like Kylene, if the other gal had continually done it the exact way that she had done it, she wouldn't have found a more way to be slightly more efficient or get the job done a little bit faster. Our job wouldn't have gone as fast either if we hadn't taken the time to set up the lasers. I don't always set up the lasers. Does it take me a little longer? Yep. But I know when I need to, and so do my help. I mean, if they want the lasers set up, we set them up. If they have a way to figure it out to make sure it's where we want it and where we need it, then that's great. So I like the fact that, you allow your interns or your help to have a little bit of leeway, the right word, free.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for there? To,
Free
the
will,
initiative probably the right word,
Yeah.
to find a way for them to do it, whether it's exactly your way or if
Mhm.
it's slightly better. If it's not quite as good, you can go back and say, nope, I want it done this way. You have
Yep.
that authority then to walk back in and say, I would prefer it was done this way.
Yep. And part of having that conversation, it doesn't have to be a difficult conversation if you do have to give some feedback. It's really knowing that person's personality and how to have that positive relationship in that moment, providing that feedback, because it is important. It is your livelihood, it's your business. And again, just tying it all together, coming back to the why, why it's important.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it. Love it. All right. So a couple things here. We've been going 40 minutes. We can go longer. I wanted to ask Chandler, what other questions do you have that brought this idea up? So we appreciate that. And then I just wanted to, I'll cover up the address, but there we go. It's heading your way, Becky.
Perfect. Oh, so he was working in the background, Kylie.
I was.
Oh,
I felt like
he put the
he's
label
right here.
on.
I got to do it. I got to get it done. So anyhow, all right. What else? Oh, speaking of what else though, all this stuff, right? Like we get excited talking about. You guys can tell I get excited talking about these types of things, and these are the types of conversations and more and deeper that we are going to be getting into in April. I cannot wait for everybody to meet us out there at beautiful lodge. What's the name of the lodge, Becky?
Coteau de Prairie's Lodge.
Thank you. I will butcher that, so I always lean on Becky there. But Becky put together this great bit of information about it. So if you guys don't mind, we'll take a quick break here and then come back and close up to see if there's anything else to talk about when it comes to interns, employees, that type of thing. So here's about the Summit of Success coming up in April.
Introducing the Summit of Success Business Retreat, a rustic lodge with all the modern conveniences and spectacular views will provide the ultimate retreat to recharge, refocus, and reignite your business ambitions. Join us at Coteau de Prairie's Lodge for expert insights, meaningful connections, and a space to dream big. Limited spots are available. Reserve yours today at osg.link/SOS.
It's beautiful there.
It is gorgeous.
It really is.
Yeah,
What city is it in?
There's no city. There's no city.
no
It's out in the
city?
middle of nowhere.
What's the closest city there?
Havana, or I think the actual address for it, if you look it up, says Havana, or
Okay.
Rutland would be the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
But it's not terribly far. For the nearest airport is
An hour and a half.
yeah. And where's that at?
Fargo.
Fargo. Cool. So that way it kind of gives you the area. But man, it's going to be amazing, gorgeous, and amazing from a mindset perspective, amazing from a recharging perspective. And I can't wait. My part of it is really making sure that everybody walks away with a deep understanding of their why, their reason, deep understanding of how to get to there, and also the action plan to then take their business to the next level. So we're going to pack all of that into 3 days, and
pampering.
And Becky's going to pamper you, absolutely. Kylene's going to bring the wellness aspect to it, and make sure that we all think about ourselves and the grace that we need to give. And so perfect yin yang balance between the three of us. And we're excited to have you guys join us April 10th through the 12th. So curious, who is that going to be though? So.
Yes. We have a couple comments. I want to grab Darren's quick if we can.
Yeah, please.
He says, sometimes I look at it as simple as we always do it this way, and someone is really having trouble with it, only to find out they're left-handed and it's been set up for right-handers. That's very, very true.
Did you guys know that left-handers have a shorter average lifespan, life expectancy than right-handers?
It's because you don't do it right and you get in trouble.
Pretty much. But I mean, if you think about it, the world is set up for right-handed people. So, like, if you're left-handed, I'm left-handed. If you're left-handed, if you've ever tried to use a skill saw, it is the hardest thing to do because it's really set up for right-handed people. So you're kind of having to go like, anyhow. So yeah, we cut our
I
arms
want
off
to think about that.
the wrong way. We think with the opposite brain, all that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chandler's one here too.
Okay.
We have a lot of left-handed people in there. Angela's left-handed too.
We're the only ones in our right
I knew
mind.
there was something wrong with it. No, I'm just kidding. Chandler says, as in troops. Did I miss one? That wasn't.
Yeah, she got one for a little
Yep,
further back.
sorry,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was my fault.
No, you're good.
She said, I don't know how to say this without sounding mean, but I don't want it to sound like that. The interns learned more about networking and presenting than the smaller stuff, and I didn't realize the training that went into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, her next comment, though, I think
We're
brings
both
up
hitting buttons.
as in the training I have to do for them, how can I be their mentor but still get my goals done? For example, one didn't know how to print using Wi-Fi, which fair enough, and then the other doesn't bring the supplies needed. Okay. So, thoughts there?
Well, obviously, print using Wi-Fi is, I mean, just one thing you're going to have to walk through, an unexpected option, but now added into your, what you need to learn to set up so they have it. It can be written on a sheet of paper that says, here's the steps in order to print for Wi-Fi, whether it's on the printer or in an email that they get. And as far as bringing supplies, I would say that would be an expectation that they would need to have set for them.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Kylie?
Yeah. And I would be writing these down as you go through them that, because it may come up every day and you may forget about some of these things, but as you continue this program and bring in new people, you're going to, like Becky said, you're going to be able to set those clear expectations of things to know prior to coming, or this is a quick FAQ area. If you're struggling here, these are things that they can quickly refer to if you're not available. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it caught you off guard, like having to train on that part of it versus the bigger things. But I think, this is brand new. You're just getting started with it. So keeping notes so you can prepare these things for the future, I think will really help you as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to disagree with Kylie kind of, but not really.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Right. So
I'm in the middle.
You said,
Aaron.
come on now. You can't even sit in the middle of your camera there. So,
Well, that's because I have.
Which one of us?
Oh, I'm so kidding. I'm sorry. All right. That was mean and uncalled for. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm not totally disagreeing with Kylie, but you said, you should write these things down. I believe that Chandler should have them write these things down.
Yes.
So there's a reason for that. Again, all the reasons that you talked about why you should write them down, but taking it that extra step and having them write it down, having them convert it to, notes that they can print out, like you were talking about before, Becky. When you learn something, you'd write down your own notes, and then because in that process, right, it also allows them to create the system in their brain. Mm-hmm. So having them write it down, and Aaron's on the couch. That was going to happen no matter what, Chandler. Yeah. And I think, yeah, again, in setting those expectations, but I think what happens to us is we want to set expectations, but then we kind of do it for them, right? We're people pleasers. And so we do it for them. So like printing from the Wi-Fi. Well, think about how you learned to print from that Wi-Fi, right? Did you have an instruction manual that you read from? Maybe. Most people nowadays, right? These kids are on YouTube 24/7 anyhow. So just go, okay, yep. Figure out how to print from the Wi-Fi and document that. So I think that, again, this is all part of the mentoring process of setting up and setting those expectations, but also not doing it for them. that's typically my challenge. It's like, and Kylene can vouch for this. Another reason why I probably have to sleep on the couch, right? We'll be doing something, and I'm like, it's just up there. Come on, go find it. Go, like I've done it, and so it's like hard for me to not try to do it for just take control of the mouse, so to speak. So,
and I think I think both of you are right. I mean, Kylene saying about having it, getting it written down. Chandler's going to need to have that as something that's in her notes for the next one. Now that can come from the notes of the ones that are currently in there because she had them write it down too. But she also needs to be aware that that's something that's getting hung up on and needs to have a spot that when she brings in new interns, that it's automatically in there and it doesn't become one of those steps that they get hung up on. So I'm going to be in the middle and say you're both right to a certain degree, because there again, Chandler can have it written down as her thing that needs to be in there, but she can maybe go back and use the current intern's notes on how to get that where it needs to be. So, Wendy says, I agree with Aaron. I have my girls write down their steps. And yes, that does make sense to have them do it as long as we, as the employer person in charge, knows that needs to move forward, because somewhere there's going to be a new one and that might be a challenge again. So
yeah, it's just that mindset shift of going from being the doer to being the manager.
Yep.
And those are two different roles with two different skill sets.
Yep.
So all right. And Chandler says, right. It was just something they didn't expect with their generation, but at the same time, they do everything off their phones, right? Yeah. So they need to learn these things. Like Angela mentioned up here a little bit earlier, right? She brings a pen and paper with her wherever she goes, but that's something that you learned along the way, right? Oh, I don't have anything to write with. And so what's your system? You create a system. We talk about that with our sons all the time. Okay, great. This is what happened, and here's why. Now, how are you going to change that? How are you going to fix your system? The comments are just amazing. We could just do comments the whole time. Darren says, I was watching a Lee Stewart video. He does a written SOP placed at each station, a QR code station linked to a video demonstrating the process, right? And
that's cool.
Again, that certainly works. How that's implemented and how that's used, I think, to me, is what the crucial part is. Like, hey, you're not going to get any help. Just go scan the QR code, figure it out. I don't think that's going to work either, personally. So,
Chandler's question up here about they are working so great with me letting them go free. I just really thought maybe I needed to be micromanaging. I don't know that micromanaging. I think what you're maybe thinking what I think you maybe should be doing at that point is having a weekly check-in with them. Because if you're feeling like they're going and doing things and you're not quite sure what they're doing or want to know more about what they're doing, bring it back into, okay, we're going to have a weekly check-in so that I know where you're at, what you guys are doing. If you have any questions, it gives you the freedom to let them go, but then bring them back in and say, what are you doing, without micromanaging in my thought process there. So I don't think anybody wants to be micromanaged, and I don't think Chandler yourself want to be micromanaging, but yet want to know what's going on. That's part of it.
Because they're learning. They need some feedback as they're learning. If they're on track or off track, a little bit of empowerment with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Chandler says, right, exactly, Becky. I want to have interns in the future as well, and that's why I have these questions. You are all freaking awesome. So I'm just going to go back to where Wendy said Aaron's right. So I'm just going to hang my hat on that.
Yeah. I didn't see that comment anywhere.
Somebody deleted it. Weird.
Delete.
All right.
He just said he was left, not right. So he's not right.
That's right. But I'm using my right brain.
Oh boy!
All right. Well, before I get completely off track here, you guys, this has been a wonderful conversation. So again, appreciate everybody's comments, everybody jumping in here. I think we all helped each other. Truly, a rising tide lifting all boats. Are there any last thoughts before we close up here, Becky or Kylene?
This was a great conversation. We appreciate it. If you guys
Mhm.
continue to have anything else that you would like to, keep the comments coming. We'll try to go back through them. If you have any other questions, maybe regarding something like this or anything else in the future, be sure to go to the group, osg.link/group, and start a conversation in there for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So speaking of the conversations, and Kylene, anything to share before I go to, sorry, I
Nope.
just realized
Nope.
that,
You're good.
that's what happens to me is I say something and then I just immediately move on without, yeah. So again, going back to how we work differently, Kylene, you can get it all done. I need to keep changing up the projects. All right. So next week we could talk about using Trello. We could talk about utilizing Meta Business Suites. Those could potentially be one show too, where we just talk about tools. However we want to go
We can
there.
sure try.
Um, or split them up, and then also talking about working with investors or partners or people that maybe you do have a day job and how to manage some of that as well. So we could touch on that too. But anything else that you guys want to talk about, please let us know, and we will add it to our list there.
Mhm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Kylene, how should we close this up?
Thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Really appreciate the comments and the feedback. You guys are all awesome.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody, and we will talk to everybody next week.
Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.